Hello class and welcome to week 7. First, I want to say Happy Veterans Day to all of our service members and the family members of service members. Thank you. Second, I want to just follow up on the Mr. Smith, Miss Rose case. I very much enjoyed reading your responses, and on many of your papers, I talked about addressing the elephant in the room. And what I meant by this and what I mean by this is Mr. Smith and Miss Rose are different. Mr. Smith has called out their differences in saying that a grown white man should not be having to be seeking help from someone like Miss Rose. In those instances, it's extremely appropriate and extremely necessary for the counselor to call out the differences that exist between her and her client. And what I mean by call out is allow for the processing. What is it like for Mr. Smith to have to work with someone like Miss Rose? Allowing Mr. Smith to process, giving him voice, could empower him during a time when he feels extremely emasculated. And it also allows for Miss Rose to gain more empathy into Mr. Smith. And so she's not responding to the microaggression. She's gaining empathy. She's being congruent. She's not allowing countertransference to deter her from providing him sound services. And also it gives him the autonomy to say, you know what, I don't think this will work. And as a therapist, my only concern is my client. And if someone else is better for my client, is a better fit for my client, I want that for my client. So just wanted to follow up on that. Finally, this week you don't have a lot due. You just have a discussion post that's going to be due Thursday. Response to students' peers will be due on the 18th. That's because all of your talents and efforts need to be going to your final case study. I look forward to reading your drafts. The quote this week comes from Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl was a clinical psychologist in Vienna, Austria. He survived several concentration camps, including Auschwitz. One of the benefits that we had during my master's program, there was a class called the Vienna Theorists, and we got to go to Austria and go to Viktor Frankl's home and Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud and Alfred Adler. And it was just an amazing experience, but something I will never forget. We were able to visit the concentration camp Mauthausen. And it's an experience that lives forever in the soul. It was sacred. I couldn't take pictures. I don't think anyone was taking pictures. And so it's imprinted. But one of the things I very much remember is as we were doing our tour of the concentration camp, there were school buses. And school buses in Austria look the same as school buses in America. And our tour guide told us that every year they send the kindergartners to the concentration camp so that they can see what happened and they never forget. And I think some of the problems that we have here in this country with our differences is that instead of addressing the elephant in the room at times, instead of having conversations we want to forget, we want to sweep it under the rug. But Viktor Frankl talks about the how and why of life. This week you'll talk about, in your discussion, working with clients with disabilities, and I'll look forward to your responses there. Let me know if you have any questions about this announcement. I hope you all have a great week, and again, Happy Veterans Day. Thanks.